An FBI raid on a top state lawmaker's office just collided with a massive battle over who controls Congress.
It's just an unbelievable situation.
Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone.
Yeah.
So let me set the scene for you. It is Wednesday, May 6, 2026. And literally just hours ago, federal agents wearing full FBI jackets swooped into Portsmouth, Virginia.
Right. Unmarked cars, blue lights flashing, the whole deal.
Exactly. They blocked off a parking lot and executed search warrants on the district office of State Senator Louise Lucas.
And they didn't just stop at her office.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
They also raided a cannabis dispensary right next door, a business that she actually co-owns.
Wow.
Yeah. And this shockwave hits right at the exact moment Virginia is locked in this bitter, high-stakes legal war over a controversial new election map.
A map that, Senator Lucas herself just helped push through.
Right. So we have a massive stack of sources today. We were pulling from breaking AT News reports, Wikipedia pages, official press releases, and local news articles.
There is a lot of ground to cover.
There really is. Our mission for this deep dive is to connect the dots between this election map battle, a sudden court blockade, and this active FBI probe. And we're keeping things simple, clear, and totally impartial.
Because, whether you live in Virginia or not, this stuff shapes the federal laws you live under.
Exactly. So to really understand why this FBI raid is such a big deal today, we have to rewind the clock, just like 2 weeks.
Right, back to April 21st.
Yes. Senator Lucas just secured this massive political victory. Virginia voters faced a referendum on a constitutional amendment. It asked a basic question about how the state draws its congressional maps.
And the voters actually approved it.
They did, by a margin of 51.69% to 48.31%.
Yeah.
That is 1,604,276 people who voted yes.
Which completely changed the rules of the game.
It really did. So think about redistricting like slicing of a pizza.
Okay, I like pizza.
Right. If you hold the pizza cutter, you don't just chop blindly. If you want all the pepperoni for yourself, you carefully draw the lines so all the plain crust gets shoved into one slice for your opponent.
And you give yourself the best slices.
Exactly. In politics, those lines decide who wins seats in the United States Congress.
Right, and the technical term for that pepperoni hoarding is packing and cracking.
Packing and cracking. Explain that for us.
So mapmakers pack as many opposing voters as they can into a single district. That way, the opposing party wins that one seat by a massive, useless margin.
Oh, I see. So they waste all their votes in one place.
Exactly. And then they crack the rest of the opposing voters. They spread them out across several other districts so they can never win a majority in those areas.
Wow. So this yes vote on April 21st, it completely changed who holds that pizza cutter.
Right. Because back in 2020, voters created a bipartisan commission of citizens and lawmakers to draw the maps.
To keep things fair.
Supposedly, yeah. But this new amendment yanked that power away from the commission. It gave the power directly back to the politicians in the General Assembly.
And those politicians already had a brand new map ready to go.
Yeah.
And the numbers on this new map are just wild.
They really stagger the imagination.
Right now, Virginia has a very narrow 6-5 split in Congress. 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans.
Which, makes sense for a state that generally votes close to 50-50.
Yeah, exactly. But this new map actively shifts 4 whole seats. It redraws the entire board to target a 10-to-1 Democratic advantage.
10-to-1. That is a drastic shift.
It is, and the sources show just how polarized the reaction is here. So looking at it neutrally, Democrats argue this map is just a necessary defensive counterattack.
Right, because they point to states like Texas and Missouri.
Yeah, where Republican legislatures redrew maps to heavily favor conservative candidates.
Right. So from the Democratic side, they feel like playing by the old rules while other states manipulate the map is just political suicide.
They view this 10-1 map as leveling a playing field that was, already tilted against them.
But Republicans view this totally differently. They see it as a hijacking of democracy.
Right. They argue this new map actively silences conservative rural voters.
Because to get that 10-1 advantage, the map slices up those rural, right-leaning districts and just blends them into heavy Democratic suburban areas.
Exactly. And Republicans point out that it completely overrides the will of the voters who explicitly chose to create that fair bipartisan commission just 6 years ago.
And, we should mention the stakes here go way beyond Virginia.
Oh, absolutely.
Shifting 4 congressional seats in one single state can easily flip the majority control of the entire U.S. House of Representatives.
Which decides national tax policy, healthcare, budgets.
Everything. A local map drawn in Richmond ripples out to affect every citizen in the country.
So the voters went to the polls. They cast over 1.6 million yes votes.
Yeah.
The amendment passed. The 10-1 map was supposed to just become law.
Supposed to.
But they really underestimated how aggressively their opponents would use the procedural rules of the Virginia Constitution.
Because just 24 hours later, the court system completely slammed the brakes.
Right. I mean, the ink was barely dry on the election results. On April 22nd, Judge Jack Hurley blocked the state from officially certifying the election.
He issued a legal injunction.
And I got to be honest, I struggled to understand this part of the process. If 1.6 million people just voted yes, how does one single judge have the power to step in and block it the very next day?
Well, it feels counterintuitive, right? But judges evaluate the procedure, not the popularity of the vote.
Okay, so what was wrong with the procedure?
Judge Hurley sided with the Republicans who brought the lawsuit. He ruled that the actual language printed on the ballot actively misled the voters.
Misled them how?
The ballot asked voters if the General Assembly should temporarily adopt new districts to, quote, restore fairness in the upcoming election.
Restore fairness.
Right. And the court determined that the phrase restore fairness is essentially partisan marketing material.
Oh, I see. Like a sales pitch.
Exactly. Constitutional amendments require neutral, objective language. You cannot put a sales pitch on a voting ballot. So the judge ruled those two words trick the voters.
2 words froze an entire election.
Wow. Yeah, and Virginia's Attorney General, Jay Jones, he fought back immediately.
Right. He appealed it. He argued an activist judge shouldn't hold veto power over the voice of the people.
He asked the Virginia Supreme Court to issue an emergency stay just to lift the block so the map could happen.
But on April 28th, the Virginia Supreme Court denied that stay.
They left the lower court's block firmly in place.
So as we record this, that controversial 10-1 map is just sitting in total legal limbo.
It is frozen in its tracks.
And I think this reveals a brutal reality about modern politics. Winning at the ballot box is not the finish line anymore.
No, it's just the starting gun for the lawyers to take over.
Exactly. So with the map frozen, the intense political spotlight shifted directly back to the architect of this whole redistricting push.
Which brings us right back to today's breaking news.
The FBI raid on Senator Louise Lucas. You really cannot separate this controversial map from the lawmaker who championed it.
No, you can't. And her background, it reads like a movie script.
It really does. The sources paint a picture of just an incredibly powerful 82-year-old trailblazer.
Right. Back in 1971, she was the first female shipfitter at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard.
She literally built ships with her bare hands. And then she transitions into politics, becomes the first African-American woman on the Portsmouth City Council.
And today, she is the first woman and the first Black person to hold the title of Senate President pro tempore.
Which means she presides over the entire state Senate whenever the lieutenant governor steps out.
It is a massive leadership role. Plus, she chairs the Finance and Appropriations Committee.
So she holds the purse strings.
She controls the flow of money and legislation. She is undeniably one of the most influential political figures in Virginia.
Yet today, federal agents showed up at her door. Let's look closely at the details of this raid.
Okay, let's break it down.
According to federal law enforcement sources, the FBI executed over 10 court-authorized search warrants.
10 warrants. That's a huge operation.
Yeah. They targeted her district office in Portsmouth, and they targeted that business she co-owns next door, the cannabis outlet.
Now, the FBI rarely comments on ongoing investigations. They just confirm they executed the warrants.
But officials speaking anonymously told reporters this is strictly a financial probe.
Right. Multiple sources say they are investigating an alleged corruption and bribery scheme connected to her marijuana dispensary.
And the sources mention a really highly specific, troubling detail about that store.
The 2022 state investigation, right?
Yes. Back in 2022, regulators found that 65 out of 66 products sold in her store were completely mislabeled.
They actually contained illegal quantities of delta-9 THC,
which is the primary psychoactive ingredient in marijuana, the chemical that actually causes the high.
Right. And here's the context. While possessing marijuana is legal in Virginia, the actual retail sale of recreational marijuana remains strictly illegal.
So businesses claim to sell legal hemp and CBD, but those findings proved her store was selling highly regulated stuff under the counter.
Operating in a very gray legal area.
It reminds me of, like, a sports referee who controls the rule book for the entire league. But on the side, they run a shady sports betting ring.
That's a great way to put it.
I get why that raises eyebrows. When you blend immense legislative power with a private business in a gray area, you invite federal crosshairs.
You definitely do.
But here's my question. Why act on it today? Is this just standard oversight, or is the timing highly suspicious?
Well, the timing guarantees that nobody in Virginia sees this as a standard investigation.
Right, we are stepping directly into a partisan crossfire right now.
And public perception is entirely fractured, so we need to look at both sides of this fairly, without endorsing either one.
Okay, let's start with the Democratic side. They are absolutely furious.
Oh, yeah. Representative Bobby Scott and House Speaker Don Scott released statements immediately.
And they point out a critical fact: the FBI currently operates under the Trump administration, led by Kash Patel.
Right. So Democrats argue this raid is blatant, weaponized retaliation.
They say the government is targeting Senator Lucas specifically because she led the charge on that 10-1 map.
They view it as an attempt to intimidate her for blocking Medjay political strategies.
And they point to other recent Trump-era Justice Department actions to establish a pattern.
Like the recent charges against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James.
Even though courts dismiss both of those cases, Democrats argue it proves the Justice Department operates as a political weapon.
So they look at the raid on Lucas through that exact same lens. A political hit job timed to disrupt the map fight.
But the counter-argument from the leaked sources pushes back really heavily on that narrative.
Right. The Republican view hinges on two main things: the timeline of the probe and the senator's legal history.
So regarding the timeline, multiple government officials leaked that this FBI investigation did not just suddenly start this week.
They state the probe actually originated years ago, during the Biden administration.
Which is a crucial detail. If the investigation started under a Democratic president, Republicans argue it completely dismantles the idea of a Trump-ordered revenge plot.
No, right, because you can't blame a new administration for a corruption probe the previous administration started.
Exactly. And then Republicans also point out Senator Lucas's history of legal controversies.
Yeah, back in 2020, authorities actually charged her with 2 felony counts.
This was related to a protest that damaged a Confederate monument in Portsmouth, right?
Yes. Now, the local Commonwealth's attorney eventually dropped those charges due to insufficient evidence.
The city even fired the police chief who brought the charges.
And Senator Lucas sued the city for malicious prosecution and secured a $300,000 settlement.
So Democrats see that as her being vindicated. But critics argue that history shows a pattern of entanglement with law enforcement.
They argue that if the FBI convinced a federal judge to sign off on over 10 separate search warrants today, they must possess substantial, legitimate evidence.
Because a judge does not authorize a raid on a sitting state senator's office without overwhelming probable cause.
Exactly.
So we have two completely incompatible realities colliding in real time.
One side sees a trailblazing lawmaker unfairly hunted by a corrupt government trying to steal an election map.
And the other side sees a powerful, corrupt politician finally facing consequences for running illegal drug businesses while in office.
And the wild thing is, whether this is a legitimate financial probe or a political hit, the damage is already done.
The facts of the warrants almost don't matter to the public anymore.
The timing alone ensures half the country views the FBI as heroes, and the other half views them as the oppressive tool of a dictatorship.
People just see exactly what they want to see.
Yeah.
And this ties the massive tangled story right back to you, the listener. You might think, well, I don't care about a state senator's office in Virginia or a local court battle over a map.
But this story proves how incredibly fragile the entire American system is right now.
Right. A fight over a map in Richmond instantly escalates into a battle over the integrity of the FBI.
It perfectly illustrates how hyper-nationalized local politics have become.
A state senator's business is no longer just a local scandal. It is a proxy war for the whole American political divide.
And a local judge making a ruling on ballot language suddenly impacts the balance of power in Washington, D.C.
It all comes back to that pizza cutter. Who gets to draw the lines, and what happens to the people who try to take the knife away?
Exactly. And it leaves you with a really troubling question to mull over. When every local political action instantly escalates into accusations of federal corruption and every federal investigation is instantly dismissed as election rigging, how can average voters ever trust the basic mechanics of their own democracy again?
But that shattered trust really is the collateral damage here. When the dust settles on this raid and the courts finally rule on that map, that lack of trust is what we are all left with.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We will absolutely keep tracking this story as it develops. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep looking beneath the surface.